First comment on the, we normally don't do things about appearance because it doesn't matter, but Jose Hernandez on the YouTube chat said, Katie, the glasses you wore during the last broadcast look good. How about that?
Oh, I thank you. Yeah, it threw everyone for a loop. So, yeah. The studious version of Katie,
yes,
I guess.
As I communicated to you via text that night as well. So, see, there you go.
Yeah.
Katie, Houston, back-to-back. Not back-to-back night, but back-to-back as far as the schedule goes. These aren't must-wins, I understand that, but really, like, they have to beat Houston, right? Like they have to.
It would be very helpful, right? In terms of when you look at just how difficult the NBA is this year, specifically the Western Conference. I really feel like the Eastern Conference is kind of evened out in terms of their standings. The Western Conference is an absolute, like, chaotic mess, right? It's changing constantly. There's not a big difference between, like, say, number 4 and number 10. This Houston team, and I'm coming back from dropping my little off at school, so I don't have my notes in front of me. But if memory serves, like, Houston has beat, like, the Bucks, they've beat the Suns, like, and they have some big wins on their kind of record. But the reality of it is like, the level of talent on every team in the league right now is just ridiculous. Like Detroit had a big win the other day, you know what I mean? Against a top tier team. And so I kind of look at these games as like, okay, if you want to be where, your goal is in April, which is to be in the playoffs and not necessarily just in a play-in situation. I'm worried about a play-in situation because the Lakers have too much talent. LeBron is too good. If AD comes back, he was playing at an MVP level before he left. They're kind of climbing up the standings. They're a very tough team to beat, regardless of the fact that they started so terribly and it's really hard to recover record-wise. So if you're wanting to be in the playoffs and avoid a play-in situation, which to me is just way too dangerous based on the level of talent in the West, you really need to take care of business on your home floor and against teams like Houston. And that is not a knock at all to Houston because they have a ton of talent on that team. They're just very young and inexperienced at this point.
Katie, I know it was a point of emphasis for Coach Brown and the coaching staff to just get better points in the paint. They've been giving up way too many lately, and the number went down considerably against Orlando. What was your observation of the biggest reasons why they were able to drop that number the other night?
You know what? I wish I could say that it was something schematically or what have you. I think that Orlando had a really tough night. I think that they kind of, this is a team that traditionally doesn't take very many threes. They hit 4 threes against the Kings back in early November when they played an overtime game in Orlando. 4 threes in an overtime game is crazy. You don't see that in the NBA. They get the majority of their points from the interior. That's just kind of their makeup right now. So I felt that the Kings did a decent job, in terms of second line of defense, trying to get to help early. A lot of it to me is blow-bys on individual matchups on the perimeter. There weren't as many of those. But I think that the Magic were actually a little bit hot from outside, and they started hitting some threes, and I think that kind of, turned their attention away from the paint a little bit. So I think that was kind of just how the game went. But you guys, I have to make a gripe here. I don't know if you guys know this. I'm really irritated with ESPN for taking away this ESPN game.
Yeah,
you had it on the schedule from the beginning. Now it's the Nuggets versus the Suns. The Suns have won 2 of their last 11 games. You take away a game, and I don't know what the reasoning or the rationale is behind it, but it's like the Kings are playing so well, and they're such a fun, exciting team to play. And then you take away an ESPN game for what reason? Because people want to see the Suns play right now with all their people injured. Like, it makes no sense to me. And even though I'm biased and our broadcast is better, I mean, Mark Jones actually would have been on that call, so Sack would have got some legit love. But it's like, from a national perspective, people deserve to see this team play. And you talk about all-star voting, and it's kind of, you hear people talking right now. Sorry, I'm on a Katie rant.
Go,
right
Katie,
now.
go. Put them glasses on.
You hear people talking about, fans need to do better at voting for the Kings for all-star, for Domas and De'Aaron. Sack fans don't. Sack fans are voting.
Thank you.
It's that people on a national level don't get to see this team play. And when you have a TNT game earlier in the year where they absolutely slap around the Brooklyn Nets and just demolish them. Now, granted, the Nets are the hottest team in the league right now, even though they just lost Kevin Durant. So we'll see how that goes. But then an ESPN game, you take it away. You've got 2 nationally televised games this season, and they take one away when you're playing the best basketball you've played since like 2004, 2005, and you think it's the fans' fault for team, like people not voting. No,
Trash.
People don't get to see this team play. I'm really irritated that they would take that game away. And yeah, let's watch the Suns play right now. Sounds fun.
For the first time since 2011, Katie, you and I agree on something 100%. You're 100% correct. It's not the fans' fault. We've talked about this before. Any intimation that, the fans need to get out of here with that. There's no better fan base than Sacramento fans, but you're right. It's a popularity contest. People east of the Mississippi are asleep generally when the Kings play. And Katie, you weren't here for this. You've been here a long time, but we've talked about this before. It was back in, I think, 98. And the Kings got thrown on TNT down at Staples Center against the Lakers. And they ended up coming back after being down 20 points at the half and winning that game. And they got flexed and flexed and flexed some more. And that was really the start of those Jason Williams, Mike Bibby, Chris Webber Kings. I imagine they will be flexed into a handful of games should they be able to maintain this pace at some point, because they're an easy watch. But this Houston deflex that they did, so you could have last night you had Phoenix and Golden State, 2 teams worse than the Kings, by the way.
Yeah.
It's garbage.
It's about star power, right, in the league, and it's about name. And yeah, Steph Curry coming back, absolutely, that is something that people want to see. I'm not going to begrudge kind of the media network for how they manage and put games on. But what I don't understand is that you've got a 5th-seeded team in the Western Conference. I haven't checked today if the standings have shifted in the West. So I apologize if it's gone down a spot. But the reality is that the Kings have been there and then maintained it for a while now. And, it goes back to you talk about those golden kind of days of the Kings back in the early 2000s. I started playing overseas. And when I was playing overseas, I saw people with Kings jerseys all over the place. It's not just about watching it on a national level. It's about international recognition of brand, right? And players. And when you look at how All-Star voting works, don't be deceived to think that those votes are coming just from the United States. That's coming from all over the world. So you're taking away the ability to get Kings players, this team, this franchise, back on kind of an international level of being recognized around the world. And so fan voting, I will never, ever, ever, to me, it's almost more important to be a reserve in the All-Star game, because that is coaches that are saying these players deserve to be there. Because we've seen throughout time, you guys, there's been plenty of All-Stars that have been voted in as starters by the fans that are being voted in just because of their name, not because of their performance. So I don't.
And Austin Reeves.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I don't have any doubt or hesitation that Domas and De'Aaron are going to be in the All-Star. I really believe that, because every coach that comes in to their media availability before games absolutely say those 2 are playing at all-star levels. And those are the people that are going to put them on that team because of what they have done. And it's kind of that game recognized game thing. It's not just players. It's coaches that respect what Mike Brown has done here and what De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis have collectively been able to do to elevate this team.
No doubt, as we're talking with Katie Christensen, all our guests coming to you from the Folsom Lake Honda Hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Katie, one last thought on the way Coach Brown coached the other night. He went to Chimezie Metu first. Is it kind of the first big off the bench? You think that's the plan going forward?
I'm kind of a little puzzled by the rotation of the center position. And I think everybody is, and I think that's okay. I think that Mike Brown has been very open and honest about the fact that he's still searching. And sometimes it's going to come down to matchups or what he sees that he feels that Chimezie or, Alex Lynn or Mimi, Rashawn Holmes. There's kind of a backlog in that position, and also Trey Lyles when they play kind of a little smaller, right, and stretch the floor. But I thought that for whatever reason he did it, it was a great call because his verticality really made a difference in that game. And he came in, he was aggressive, he rim runned, and that is something that at least we know that Chimezie, despite like it was really a 10-game stretch of where he had fallen completely out of the rotation after being the first big off the bench for quite some time. At least we know that he returned and immediately gave what he was giving prior to him kind of falling out of the rotation. So kind of hats off to him for staying ready, staying prepared. And mentally, that's the toughest challenge when you're in those situations. But I think Mike Brown really is still kind of trying to figure out how best to utilize the backlog of centers he has, because they're all different and all give kind of a different thing when they come in. So I don't know if it's a matchup thing. And, I think everyone, it's been very, very, vocally kind of out there. Everyone is wondering what's going to happen at the trade deadline, because I think we can all be honest and say that probably is the biggest deficiency in terms of the rotation in the lineup, is just not having a consistent presence from that backup center when Domas gets some rest.
Check out Katie on the call tonight, 7 p.m. with the Rockets taking on the Kings at Golden One Center, of course, right here on Sacktown Sports. Katie, thank you so much. And listen, when it comes to all this flexing and all-star voting and all that, you know what you and I both need to do?
Oh, dear.
Let it go.
Oh,
talk to you later.
Bye, you guys.
Bye. That's Katie Christensen.
Got her.
I did. Coming up.